Hey everyone! Before we get this episode started, I'm going to ask you to please follow us on Instagram at LikeablePod. Follow me on Instagram at David Stickle Comedy, which is also my website, davidsticklecomedy.com, and my YouTube at David Stickle Comedy. Please follow, support there. Subscribe to the newsletter, which can be found on the Instagrams or on the websites. That would be greatly appreciated. Please, subscribing on YouTube makes a huge difference if you care about that. If you don't care about making a difference, why even listening to this? Seriously, you should just hit fast forward 30 seconds and you'll be somewhere in the intro, I assume. I don't know. I don't time these things. Who does? Who could? Who would? But yeah, please make sure you do that. Thank you, and enjoy this week's episode.
Jokes and you're insightful, but are you likable? You got jokes, you're the host and are you likable?
Hello and welcome to Likeable, a show where we discuss stand-up comedy from an entry-level perspective. I'm your host, David Stickle, and today I'm joined by Mr. Alejandro Morales. Ay. Yeah. Am I allowed to say that?
I think so.
Yeah? Okay. I don't know. I'm like too Irish for a lot of things, I think.
Well, Irish have their like calls and cries and whoops.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was just in an Irish bar in Philadelphia on Sunday night, and they it's called Fergie's. And it's
Fergie's?
Yeah, it's owned by this literal Irish immigrant named Fergie.
Okay.
And he has Irish musicians that come through the pub and sing old Irish folk songs and things like that.
Huh.
Right at the bar, yeah.
Yeah?
So yeah, they were whooping it up.
Do you think Fergalicious is an old Irish folk song?
I think that one is Scottish.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. You need a tartan for that one.
Yeah, some bagpipes.
Yeah. Oh, the old Fergalicious.
I ran into a drunk couple in Philadelphia a handful of years ago that were walking through Philadelphia, and they literally thought that Fergie's was a bar owned by Fergie of the Black Eyed Peas.
Amazing. No, it's actually owned by Will.i.am.
They recruited her to run the bar.
Yeah. It's like a Coyote Ugly situation. Cool. I mean, Philly. I mean, you go to Philly a lot.
I do. I lived there for 23 years, and I just moved out in February. Cool. But all my comedy connections are basically still there. And, a lot of my friends and stuff. So I book like 1 or 2 shows there a month so I can get down for a visit.
Hell yeah. Is that where you started comedy? How long ago did you start comedy?
2010.
2010. Okay.
After a breakup.
Okay. That
was the last serious relationship I had was before I started
2010. It's amazing how comedy does that to you. You know, you're like, oh, I can't have a serious relationship now.
Now it's a liability.
That's amazing. So 2010, you started comedy, and the breakup? What was like the thought process behind it? Like they used to censor you, or like?
Well, no. What happened was when I graduated high school, I moved to New York City to be an actor because I thought my passion was theater. I was just gay. That's all. I could not name 10 musicals. I just wanted to be in New York City. And so I went to New York City and I did that whole thing. And then I kind of crashed and burned hard because I was 18 years old in New York City in 1999. I don't know how.
Dude, being 18 and moving to New York, I don't know how anybody does it. Yeah.
I didn't have the discipline. So I just partied until they kicked me out of the dorm. And then I came back to Ulster County. I went to UTRI-C for a little while. Ulster County Community College.
Okay. Oh, UTRI-C. Oh, okay.
Yeah, UTRI-C for all the things you want to be.
Wow. I got to call Duchess that. I went to DTRI-C.
Yeah, spent 3 years at a 2-year school, never got the degree.
Okay.
But I did take I took a writing class at community college from this woman, and she saw something in me, and she said I was a talented writer. I decided that I wanted to write screenplays and scripts and do movies. So one of the only colleges on the East Coast that offered that kind of program was the University of the Arts in Philadelphia. So in 2003, I moved to Philadelphia, and I got my BFA in screenwriting and digital filmmaking. Wow. And very quickly discovered that you need hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to make a feature film.
Yeah.
I didn't have a clue about fundraising or anything like that. So I kind of needed, and then I got my post-college job, and I got into that relationship and everything. And as that was kind of, I got laid off from that job because the recession hit. And then shortly thereafter, the stress of getting laid off and not working led to the sort of, disintegration of the romantic relationship. And I was still looking for a creative outlet. But I was broke. And stand-up comedy is just almost like zero overhead. So I got into stand-up comedy in 2010 and discovered really quickly that I'd always loved stand-up comedy and just hadn't really looked at it that way, because in the 90s... Wait, how old are you?
I'm 35.
Oh, okay. So you remember...
Born in 90. Yeah.
So you remember the whole 90s, right?
yeah. I mean, from a lot of it, I'm trying to not remember.
Vanilla Ice. Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. Well, I do remember the Ninja Turtles. Yeah. Ice Ice Baby was a little bit before me. I think that song came out on my birthday.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I was 9. So, so you remember the 90s. So Comedy Central was just starting in the 90s. So they were relying on a lot of stand-up comedy programming because it didn't have all that, original programming that you see now, and they weren't, part of Viacom or anything like that. So it was a very fledgling project. So you got to see on Comedy Central in those days that Comic Relief with Billy Crystal and Whoopi Goldberg and Robin Williams, and they just had a ton of stand-up. They had the A-list with, I think, Laura Keitlinger, and then Sandra Bernhard, Richard Lewis, and then so once I started doing comedy in 2010, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've always loved this. This has always been the thing for me, and then it was just kind of a straight shot there.
Hell yeah.
Until now.
So who was so you've always kind of loved comedy, but you never really, there's a lot of stuff to dive into there. The first stand-up comic you saw that you were like, I fucking love this, might have been
this is so gay. It was Margaret Cho. Me and my friends. Me and my friends in New Paltz. When I was living here, I made friends with a lot of people in New Paltz. Before I moved to Philly in 2003, I partied and hung out and watched TV with a bunch of gay guys in New Paltz, and we loved the Margaret Cho special, I'm the One That I Want.
Okay, I don't know if I've seen it.
It's good. It's funny. I don't know that it would resonate so much with you, but I think it's funny, no matter what.
Yeah, I if anything, I just enjoy really good writing. There's a lot of comedians that I don't necessarily have a lot of base layer correlation to, but I feel like a
base layer correlation.
As far as identity, I guess.
Wait, how about you then? What was your...
So my first stand-up experience where I'm like, oh, I really love this was Pablo Francisco.
Oh my God, he's Chilean.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's amazing. Yeah. I loved Pablo. I loved the voices. I loved the acting. I loved all of it. It was just really cool.
That's so funny. That's one of my vocal stims now. Is when he goes fine, fine, fine. I'm always
so fine.
So good.
Yeah. I still do the. Billy, what's going on? I love that, dude. Yeah.
They're coming for my tortillas.
Yeah. Little tortilla boy. Yeah. So I started doing the voices because I was just copying him when I was younger.
Right.
And his Comedy Central Presents was, 30 minutes and he was sweating the whole time. Yeah. He still does, which is fine for me because I sweat all the time too. And I'm just oh, good.
Do you bring a rag on stage?
Not yet. I'm going to at some point.
Pro move if you're a sweater.
Oh, man. I might be the first white comic to do it. So I'm just really trying to carve out that milestone for me.
Yeah.
But Pablo I really loved. Yeah. So Margaret Cho, and then were you a stand-up fan after that, or were you just kind of monitoring it from afar? You would just check it out here and there.
After I saw Margaret Cho's, I'm the One That I Want. I bought her Following CD, and then we were kind of drifting into the era of Bravo TV. Kathy Griffin, My Life on the D-List, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So I was watching Kathy Griffin comedy at the time. And then after I moved to Philadelphia, I didn't have cable TV anymore.
Okay.
So at that point, it was just it was mostly film because I was going to film school. So I was really kind of deep into that. And then once I emerged sort of into the stand-up scene in Philadelphia in 2010, then I kind of got deeper into watching more stand-up and paying attention to it. But then at that point, it became local comedians that I was really fixated on, and that I knew their sets kind of forwards and backwards.
So before we move on from the film stuff, when you were, because I feel like a lot of comedians maybe don't get enough credit for being dynamic, and like I'll give you this credit without you saying yes or no before, but you can agree or disagree. Were your films that you were like, or like the screenplays that you were like writing, were they comedy based, or were they actually more like something else?
No, they were definitely comedy based, but they did not. The University of the Arts program really didn't feel like they were in the position to teach comedy, which I kind of agree with. I kind of get that. So they really wanted the film students to kind of focus on like plot and things like that. So they really pushed us hard to do drama, and they did not kind of reward us or give us credit for doing comedy. They actively just did not want us to do it and didn't want to comment on it. So if anything was funny, you just had to believe that it was funny on your own, because the professors weren't going to give that to you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which, you know, because like I think of like college projects, at least, where like the funding is like really not there. And I feel like comedy is something you can kind of do on a lower budget, you know?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, or horror, but you know. Yeah. But yeah, that's so interesting. So do you still write?
A little bit. I've got like a few screenplay ideas kicking around. I had written the first third of a buddy movie about a straight guy and a gay guy who work in a call center together.
Okay.
That I wrote for Shane Gillis and this other comedian, Che Guerrero, that I know from Philadelphia. And I never finished it because I was working on it with a straight man, and I needed straight man input, because there's this part in the movie where everybody ends up at a football game.
Okay.
And like, not to be a stereotype, like I just don't. That's one of the sports that I just don't understand anything that what happens. So I really needed like my buddy to come through, and then. And he was a storyteller in Philadelphia, and that was one of the worst like creative breakups that I've had.
Okay,
that we were like working on something and we were really in it, and then he just wasn't in it anymore. And then he worked with an illustrator on a book that kind of like went viral and went big. So I got really mad about that. So I stopped talking to him.
Oh, that sucks, dude. Yeah, it sucks when they do good without you.
Yes,
you know?
Absolutely.
Like,
it's like, come on, we could have done something really cool.
Yeah,
so,
that is like a breakup.
It
actually.
is like a breakup.
Yeah. Like,
and
if your
a lot
ex dates somebody that you think is more attractive than you, you're like, what the fuck? You know, I hate that. Every time I see an ex dating somebody that's like 5 pounds lighter than me, I'm like, God, that's because I was fat. You know, like, son of a bitch.
So funny. A lot of my exes end up getting married to bald men after we break up, and I go,
really?
Okay. So it's like the bald thing. That was what. Like,
so you're like a good luck Chuck situation.
I guess. So.
Yeah. Dang. You know, we should advertise that.
You work if you work with me or you get with me, the next person that's gonna be it. So.
Yeah. Attendance at your shows are gonna spike, dude. Everybody's gonna be wearing tuxes. Okay. So Philly comedy scene. So you started to dive into it a little bit, but you know, let's go through like how'd you find your first like open mic, or
how did I find my first open mic? I don't even remember how I found it. I just remember that I found one that I really liked.
Cool.
Because there were a handful at the time in 2010. In 2010, the comedians who were kind of the big deal, you know, locally, ended up being the comedians who now do Tires on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
So the same kind of group of people was
those
doing
guys.
stuff. Yeah, those dudes. And
I don't want to interrupt, but like in 2010, this is Kevin Hart's a Philly comic, right? So
not really. He was never really. I mean, he's absolutely really a Philly comic because he's really from Philly.
Yeah.
But the lore, as I understand it, is that he went to one open mic on South Street at this old comedy club called the Laugh House, that he went and he killed. And he did so amazing that there were New York comics there, and they were like, no, get out of here. And they just took him right to New York. So as I understand it, Kevin Hart was not really cutting his teeth in Philly. I think it was pretty fast that people identified that they were dealing with like a generational talent. So he made the move pretty quick.
Important distinction, you know, because if you have somebody like, well, I mean, we'll talk about Shane in a minute, but if you have somebody that's like that, that's really evolving in front of your eyes in your local scene, like that's important for local comics to see versus like, you know, somebody who might be just like special off the bat and then they took him away. So you didn't get to see his
It is
growth.
super special to see that. And I did get to see that a lot. For example, Pearlmania. I don't know if you're familiar with the redheaded guy with long hair and a beard, and he screams on TikTok, and he has 1 million followers.
No.
And it's about most of it is about politics.
Okay.
So this is somebody that I knew when I just started out in comedy, and he had a one-man podcast, and everybody used to make fun of him because he was just talking to himself, and we all thought it was not me. No, I always believed in him. When I say we all thought he was dumb, I mean everybody else thought he was dumb. We clowned on him a little bit because he was like, "Oh my god, Pearlmania," just hanging out in his basement talking to a microphone. And then lo and behold, like, you know, a handful of years later, that's the format that, you know, that he perfected it before it even became a thing. So once TikTok came around, he was just like ready to go.
Right.
And so he pretty quickly gathered steam, and now he's got 1 million followers on TikTok, probably as many followers on Instagram, and that whole life, that whole podcaster living, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to get there.
Yeah. That's next for you. That's
I hope so. So do you remember what your first set was about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because my first set was actually 3 years before I officially started comedy.
Okay.
Not because it didn't go well.
Okay.
It was 2007, and I was just graduating from art school, and me and my friends just decided to go to an open mic that we would kind of try it out. And I had a little bit too much liquid courage, and I did that rookie comedy mistake where you start stand up and you start telling just the dirtiest jokes you can think of.
Right.
You start talking about the dirtiest things because you're like, I'm a truth teller. I want to talk about dick, you know, and like I'm going to say something really honest about it, you know. And so I had this the first joke that I wrote, and I still think it's kind of solid, but it is gross. And it was about people who wax their buttholes.
Okay.
You know, like, why do they think that there's something pretty underneath? That's what I thought. Was,
That's fun.
Yeah, I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But I just didn't deliver it well, and I was slurring, and I tripped on my way up the stage. And the host of the mic, who was actually this performer who goes by the legendary Wid, he's a regional East Coast guy who works with props. He like unpacks all these huge plastic tubs of props, and he just does like 45, 50 minutes just picking through stuff and commenting on it. And it sounds dumb, but like it is it's a tour de force. It's amazing.
Yeah, I bet it is.
But in 2007, he was hosting an open mic, and he escorted me off stage. It was
really he cut you short.
Yeah.
Wow,
It was really embarrassed.
That's amazing. Dang.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen that. No, it's good for you. Maybe etiquette was just stronger back then.
Maybe. So it wasn't another 3 years until I really kind of gave it another try.
Okay.
For real.
That night after you get escorted off the stage, were you thinking you'd ever try it again?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what I was thinking? I was probably wanting a cheesesteak. But after that, it wasn't like high stakes. You know, I didn't know then that was like a passion.
Right.
So I don't think I treated it like it mattered.
That's cool. So, second set is your official first set,
right? Yeah. I don't remember too much about my second set. I know that I found an open mic that I liked called Laughs on Fairmount, and it was run by these two women comedians, Carolyn Busa and Mary Radzinski, and it was a more friendly space for me because of the gay thing. Like, not to I don't want to belabor it, but it is different. It's different being
sure.
Yeah, being a gay comic.
I mean, we're talking. You said 3 years later, so 2010. I mean, I think gay is still a punchline at that time, right?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't like it is now, where you have like gay comedians with like multi-million followings and all that stuff. It really was.
Right. I mean, Kim and Mitchell were on Modern Family, right? And that was around like 2010s, around there, and they were like the comedic relief because of their relationship. I mean, there's still like a lot of
and you'd had like Will and Grace and stuff before then,
correct?
And you had like people like Mario Cantone, who's been doing stuff since like the 90s.
Yeah.
So there were gay comedians out and about. I felt just more comfortable with the mic that was run by the ladies. I just felt like more at ease.
Yeah.
They were doing because I just didn't like the. I just fucking don't like straight people.
Dude, I get it.
It was just more comfortable. It was just more comfortable, and that's where I gravitated, and that's where I did most of my stuff.
Yeah.
So I used to do this stupid catchphrase. I don't even think it was connected to anything, but I would just go, butter. So people would see me, they go, oh, Alejandro, butter. So that's the setup and the punchline.
That's awesome. Why did you drop it?
Stupid.
Yeah, dude, you could sell merch with that. Holy shit.
Just butter exclamation point.
Yeah, dang, dude, that's such a funny just one word way to do that. Dang, is that just something that you randomly just say, like walking around the kitchen from time to time?
Yeah, I mean, I guess at the time I have no idea what was going through my head back then. I mean, your first years in comedy, you're really just throwing stuff at the wall just to see what gets any kind of kind of response.
For sure. I spent my first year of comedy, I started doing the mic at Two Way in Beacon, and I want to say, like, for a month I would try something different. Like, I'm going to do this month is going to be like dark humor. This month is going to be only clean. This month is going to be physical comedy. Like this, it was just like try something different for 4 mics straight and just see what stuck. And I feel like I found whatever I am now. So yeah. And I was like, I like this the most.
Yeah. There's a lot of flailing around. And the conventional wisdom says that it takes 10 years to find your voice, which I don't think that applies universally. But for me it did. For me it really took 10 years of being like on the grind to discover what it was about me. And even then it's like it's elusive, right?
Right.
Because you spend so much time paying attention to yourself that you can lose sight of yourself because you're just looking. So, and you lose the context of who you are and the context of what makes you funny to other people because you're just in your head, and that's
and also like focusing on yourself so much can be quite painful, So it's like hard to be funny when you're like. Because then you're just like, maybe I should work on this. But
anytime that's like, is this starting to feel like therapy? Because that's not, anytime somebody gets on stage and like, this is just like, it's like being at the therapist's office. It's like, no, it's not. Nope. I nobody here is a therapist. Nobody here wants to hear about your problems or the messed up shit that you did. It's got to be funny. It's got to be that's what it has to come back to is that you've got a setup and you've got a punchline. I don't want to hear about. Some people just get up there and just start, spilling their guts, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, I went to this is a related. Random story. I went to a mic at Levity Live like a month or 2 ago, and I got there early because it starts late. And I was talking to one of the comics that was there, and he is a therapist full time.
Wow.
And so like comics come in, they sign up, and that conversation was it. So now I'm like kind of like looking over at him like while the mic is going on, and he's just like. Like he's like, oh my, I'm like, oh my god, he's diagnosing people. It was like this guy feels like he's at work right now.
I just feel like on the way out of the mic, like he's handing everybody their like.
He legitimately handed his card to somebody.
He's like, you need my help.
Oh my god, he was just like, he's like, I can't help you, but I could get you somebody that can. And I was like, god damn, it was me. I was like, jeez, that was horrible. But no, that was an interesting thing to watch. What was I going to say? I think the interesting thing about the 10 years to find your voice, do you think, because I've been trying to kick this concept around a little bit, comics oftentimes start when they're like late teens, early 20s, and then 10 years to find your voice. So do you think there's any merit to like just starting when you're in your 30s? Because like oftentimes like it takes 10 years to find out who you are, when you start to become an adult to when you're like in your 30s where you should be an adult by then. It's like, so do you think there's something to that maybe?
I mean, I started when I was 29.
Oh, okay.
And I'm 45 now.
Okay.
So I spent the entirety of my 30s doing stand-up comedy and trying to like make it as a stand-up comic. So I think and I think there definitely is something to that. Because you're having, all of your sort of your formative like adult experiences, and you're seeing all of your friends go through these sort of milestones, marriage and career advancement and stuff like that. And at least for me, being like a working comedian and being like a working artist, essentially, it definitely it was really enriching. I'm really glad that I got to supplement my life of trying to just pay the bills and keep myself alive and have health insurance. I'm glad that I had a creative outlet during that because if all you're doing is just kind of focused on like the bag or whatever, or your career and stuff like that, you can lose. I don't know. You can lose some of the things about yourself that make you exciting, or your curiosity or your childlike joy or whatever. You know, there's things that people shed along the way, and I've been really protective about those parts of myself, and I've just really wanted to remain silly. And I don't know that I could have done that if I wasn't like really, you know, still dreaming and striving and all that.
Right.
All that stuff.
Interesting. Huh. All right, so I want to ask you about the Philly scene. So you're down there, and you'd mentioned the maybe not yet out loud, but the Good Comedy Show, and you've mentioned Shane already.
Right? Yeah. I got to drop that name, Alex.
Yeah, of course. What was that like? I mean, what is it like having somebody like that from your scene, and having that kind of happen, and Were you doing comedy when he showed up, or was he already there when you showed up?
Oh no, it was my turf. It was my turf. Okay. Because Shane got his start in doing comedy in I think Mechanicsville, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
A few hours, I think, south of Philadelphia, what they call Pennsyltucky.
Pennsyltucky,
like
Pennsyltucky.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they say that.
Is that the real name?
No. They say that Pennsylvania is Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and everything else is Pennsyltucky.
Oh, okay. Oh, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, because it's fucking inbred hicks.
Yeah. I love that.
So Shane actually got to start doing comedy there.
Okay.
So when he came to Philadelphia in the early mid 2010s, he was already like almost fully formed. He was the Shane Gillis that you see now. It's not like he made these like leaps and bounds. He was already good. I mean, he arrived, he exploded onto the scene. He was hosting at Helium, working at Helium very, very fast. I remember we were at a Sunday night open mic at Fergie's.
Okay.
And Shane showed up with his like Helium T-shirt because he had been like passed, and he just like rubbed it in everybody's faces. So it was exciting having him, but it was also an exciting time just for Philly comedy in general. There were a lot. It wasn't this thing of like, like we were all like, oh shit, and then along came Shane. He was good, and we were like, wow, that's good. No, we were all doing like really fun, exciting things. That was like the alternative comedy movement was like in full swing at that time. And like I mentioned to you over email, there was this group of alternative comedians, and they met doing stand-up comedy open mics, but they wanted to do more than stand-up. And I was really interested in that because I'd had this theater background and this film background, and I wanted to play with form and experiment and stuff like that. So we did a lot. We did a lot of experimenting. We did a lot of kind of things that were neither stand-up nor improv nor sketch. Kind of just really quirky things. And that's where I came up with that food-themed rap battle game show that I hosted for them called Eat Your Beats.
Yeah.
And that was part of the flagship programming for what was Good Comedy Theater, which was an alternative comedy theater that became a brick and mortar space in Philadelphia.
That's awesome.
It is. It was a super cool thing to be part of, and it was really exciting. And IFC came to check us out, and some folks from MTV came to check. I mean, nothing least anything. And when you're like a working comic, right? You can identify those sort of exits along the highway where you could have kind of caught a little bit of a break. And there's just a lot of that. There's so much almost.
Yeah.
If you're a working comic with some degree of talent, because at a certain point it becomes you and your peers at this sort of talent level, and then there's the networking and there's personality. A lot of people shoot themselves in the foot because they're excellent comedians, but they haven't been cultivating their social skills or their professionalism, which you need a little bit of. And certain people will hit it big and then shoot themselves in the foot right away. I mean, Shane Gillis more or less almost shot himself in the foot.
Yeah.
So it's I don't want to say tough. It's not that it's hard or that it's scary. It's like a balancing act, or it's like a tightrope. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of like anticipation for something that like might not pan out. And so we were all feeling that. We were all feeling that anticipation of like, okay, there's a spotlight on us, or there's an eye on us, and like, what's going to happen? What's going to, everybody had big dreams. Everybody, expected, maybe a TV, something to come through. And then for some people, it absolutely did happen. For Shane Gillis, it did happen. For, people like Tommy Pope, John McKeever, Chris O'Connor were all Philly comics. They're all involved in Tires now.
Yeah.
A bunch of other Philly comedians who are sort of adjacent to that friend group made it on there. Mecky Leaper, I don't know if you remember that, I think it was a comedy show called The Jury. I'm not sure if it's called The Jury. It was about a jury, but he did that, and then he ended up he's on network television now. My friend Perlman, who has 1 million followers. So people did kind of make their way out and do amazing things, and then for the rest of us, we kind of like just maintained the scene until it all kind of disintegrated.
Yeah. So like, let's go back to the IFC thing. Like, so y'all have the show going on, and I imagine you're selling out shows, and that's how it kind of gets garners attention. And then you hear that some industry is coming by, or is it just like they contact you and they're like, hey, we're gonna check this out? Or
what happened with IFC was that the good comedy sort of collective was putting on shows all over Philadelphia, and then became sort of like a brand, and would attract audiences to whatever venue that they were doing shows at. And then the founders decided that they wanted to create like a brick and mortar space, so they initiated a Kickstarter, and the Good Comedy Theater became the most funded comedy theater in Kickstarter history. So already a lot of people were excited even before it became like a physical theater. Then it did become a physical theater, and we had lines around the block for all the shows, and the local press was talking about us a lot. And then the founders had their own sort of thing going on, because they were in charge of things. So through whatever machinations there or contacts that they had made, they organized a show that was called the IFC Showcase. It was IFC's come in to check out the theater. We're going to do a big show. So it was a couple of people from IFC, and then just our regular Philadelphia audience.
Yeah.
So that's how that came. And then when MTV came, it was just they sent like a camera crew over, and we didn't know that it was going to happen. And all of a sudden there's these cameras at the show, and we're like, okay. And then we found out after the fact that it was folks who were kind of scouting, and we just flipped our shit. We were so excited.
Wow. So like the MTV thing you find out after the fact, but like when you're hearing that these people are coming, and like as far as like dynamics with people, because I imagine you would handle that very well, and you would still kind of treat everybody. I feel like, I mean, we've only done like 2, maybe 3 shows together, but I mean, like, you handle things like a pro, and I don't know if you were different back then, but I mean, you handle things like a pro, and so I imagine back then you were probably just like, all right, let's just treat it like another show, and then, but I think maybe dynamically other people might be like, I'm fucking big time, like I'm gonna step up my shit times 10 for this one, and they just kind of like they shit it,
No, I mean, here's the thing, like, I'm 45, so I have mellowed out. I cannot say that I was mellow in any way 10, 11, 12 years ago. I was also drinking very heavily, and I was broke, and I was, a dreamer. I really felt like if it wasn't going to be comedy, it was going to be nothing. And it kind of did become that, but not the way that I thought it would. But I was really, we'll say, I mean, like, desperate also isn't like the word, but there is that desperation. There's that feeling like I got, like this chance might be my only chance, and I gotta jump on it. If I don't get this, maybe that's it for me, And so there was a real urgency. Urgency is a word that I'm looking for. So I was feeling a lot of urgency, and emotions were really high. And by the time that IFC had their eye on the theater, there were already internal conflicts. And I was already on the road to falling out with the founders of the theater. We ended up not getting along very well. Same thing that always happens in the dissolution of any kind of scene. Like, I felt like they were kind of picking favorites, and I felt like I wasn't really getting like my due as far as like what the contributions that I'd made to the theater. And I still kind of feel that way. I still feel like the founders kind of took the ball that we'd all been sort of playing with, and they kind of ran with it. It was about a community of comedians who were all creating alternative comedy, who were all doing game shows and different things and imaginative programming. And then the founders kind of made it about them, kind of like Elon Musk does with Tesla. Like, he made it about, it's a bunch of people who do incredible work, and he makes it about himself. Right. So that was already happening by the time IFC came. So it was just as sort of tense as it was kind of exciting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, as far as it dissolving and all that kind of stuff, like, what was like the falling out process like? I mean, because I mean, and it sounded like you were a part of a very successful program there. So
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, not easy to step away from,
Right.
or were you removed from it?
Pushed out, gradually pushed out.
Okay.
Because it became a personality conflict, and then once that personality conflict didn't really resolve, then it became this sort of lingering resentment, and then it became that thing of like, well, Alejandro, you don't like us. Why are you here at the theater?
Oh,
They
dang.
became that, and by that point, yeah, the whole thing had kind of like soured. The theater had been running for a few years. The novelty of the food-themed rap battle game show had kind of like worn off. So even though it was like really solid programming, we kind of needed to make that jump to like IFC or something, because we couldn't just keep on doing the same thing every month.
Right.
Because no matter how fun or exciting it is, if it's not new, it's not new.
Yeah.
So we stopped selling out tickets, and we were having more, middling kind of sales. And so the founders kind of used that as a cudgel, and we're like, well, you're not selling as great anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So then I got sick of, then I was like, screw it, I'm out. We'll take it somewhere else. And then the alternative comedy thing kind of fizzled out, sort of nationwide.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, you have Dropout TV now.
yeah, I feel like it's coming back.
I hope so. I
Yeah.
hope the pendulum swings back, because I think stand-up was more exciting in that era as well. I think stand-up has gotten a little stagnant.
I would say in the Kill Tony era of
I wasn't going to say Kill Tony. I was you
don't have to.
Did you see the special? Did you see a special?
Oh my god,
It was
it was so bad. I can watch. So I make a point of watching comedians I don't enjoy. And because I will say, if somebody's got a special on something, they're at least doing one thing right. I don't know all 10 layers that got them there, but there's something there, right? That got them at least to the notoriety to talk to whoever, to buy off whatever. You know what I mean? So like, and I know why he's got the special on there, So, but I'm like, all right, well, I know he's good at like roasting, and I know that he's good at crowd work. Let's see what this special is. Just crowd work. Okay. Which is like, and like all the, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about it, but I'll vent on it for a second. All of it was just so hacky.
Yeah.
It was so bad. And it was really disappointing, because I only have a speculative answer for this, but like I believe that he had that special on there as part of a deal for Netflix wanting 4 episodes of his from Kill Tony on their platform.
Wow.
And I think that also came with him getting TV time on the comedy on the Netflix roasts.
I see.
So his face on screen, and I believe all of that is because he's tied to Shane Gillis, because they just want more Shane.
Yeah.
And so like he had all of that, and then a lot of his people are getting Netflix specials because of this Kill Tony deal on Netflix, and including him. And I just don't think he is a stand-up anymore.
No.
At least from my perception. Like, I think he's a TV show host.
Exactly. Yeah, I think with Kill Tony, he stumbled onto something where he really captured that the most fun energy of an open mic, because as I'm sure an open mic isn't all fun energy.
No, yeah.
So he managed to distill the fun parts.
Yeah. Which, like, listen, like, I will guest dependent. I will watch an episode here and there. It's a little, I don't love all of the jokes on there, and I think the Austin scene has really gotten into this like edgelord bullshit, and and also it's kind of taken this turn of like rewarding like characters on stage, which I guess might be a form of alt comedy, I guess.
In a way.
So he's really kind of taken that and ran with that. But like I just like really good writing, and sometimes it's just in a minute it's very hard to have good writing, but that's where great writers show up, if you can do a lot of jokes in a minute. But like just seeing the show, and I'm just like, all right, this is going for the quick racist pop, or the quick homophobic pop, or like all of that kind of shit, and I'm just like, this is it's weak.
It is. And sometimes you'll see somebody from like a marginalized community, and they'll come up and they'll just throw their whole community under the bus because they think that's what the crowd wants. And those people get respect from nobody, because the crowd doesn't fuck with you because they are prejudiced. They're there
Yeah,
for there for the edgy stuff. So you're a marginalized person up there. Already, the audience does not fuck with you, and then they see you kind of throw your own folks under the bus, and they fuck with you less. They respect you less because they see that you don't even have the integrity to like stand with your own your own people. I think. Like, why would you want to sell yourself out like that? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't relate to. And the other thing, since we're talking about it, right?
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's your episode. I would love your thoughts on it.
I think it's funny when comedians post in like, for example, like Facebook groups. They're looking for gigs and they list Kill Tony as a credit. It's not a credit. It's a mic. It's a bucket
pull.
mic.
Yeah,
right.
So Laughing Buddha. Credit.
You might have seen me on Times Square handing out tickets. So it's not a real credit. And what I like to do now is when a comedian comes in, they say, "Oh, I've been on Kill Tony." I go and I look for the Kill Tony episode and I look for their set to see what is this credit that you're using. And 9 times out of 10, like, it's not a good set. Didn't go over well with the audience. The panel roasted you. Everybody on the internet and the YouTube comments roasted you. You look like an asshole to the whole world, and you're standing there pointing at it like, "Hey, look at this turd, everybody."
Yeah.
Book me.
Yep. That's what blows my mind sometimes is when people mention that kind of stuff, and it's like, all right, you want to showcase one of your worst moments in comedy? Like I don't really get that. I think it's funny if a comedian like talks about their experience on the show, like, but that shouldn't be a credit. It shouldn't be a credit line. Yeah, that's crazy.
No. Yeah. So I think that era is like coming to a close. I think a lot of people, because you can't look at this stand-up and say that it's good. You can't look at Tony Hinchcliffe and be like, that's good, that's craft. You can't look at Joe Rogan's special and be like, that's craft. It's not. You can't look at it. Oh, my God. Brian Callen, who in the past I thought was like kind of like a fun dude, but like he just took a weird turn. Like now he's just so bad and also so like sad.
Okay.
Something just really happened. Did you see Brian Callen's special?
No. So Brian Callen to me is Eddie from the Hangover, and I'm just like, okay, he's good there.
Yeah.
I did work with his feature act Nick Simmons for a show, and we still chat online here and there, and he's a nice guy. I think Nick is a very nice guy, actually. Very, like, in the green room, he like took plenty of time to kind of give other comics like an idea of like how to be a little bit more successful. He wasn't saying like, "Hey, this is the way." He's like, these are good practices, and that was like very nice. So I'll be a fan of Nick for a long time. But yeah, Brian Callen, he really holds up high, and I just I don't get it.
But speaking of advice, do you want like free advice that I got from like the industry professionals?
Sure. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I went to the Asheville Comedy Festival a handful of years ago, and it was a big deal because it's supposed to be a big deal, sort of industry fest, and they have industry people there. And so you go to that festival and you think, "Oh, I'm going to get a manager, I'm going to get representation. This is going to be my ticket into the business." And then we did a panel. The comedians did these panels with industry people, and the big takeaway, which I don't think this was a big takeaway in years prior. I think it's just a symbol of how things have gone.
Okay.
The main thrust was, if you get to 15,000 followers, the clubs will return your emails.
Really?
That was the big advice.
Huh. Okay.
I bought a plane ticket. And they explicitly were like, "No, it's not. This is not the era of a manager's going to make it for you. This is not an era somebody's going to scoop you up and make you a star. This is the era of you go out and you get your followers, and you bring that to the people that you want to work with."
This is an interesting topic, because I'm sure you hated hearing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
I've got like 3,000 followers on Instagram, and I just don't like. I like content. I like fun content. But do I want to spend my life making content? No, and if I don't make it because of that, that's on me and that's my fault, and I'm being stubborn. But it's just not part of why I got into it. I got into it at 2010 as wanting to do stand-up, wanting to do live performance, wanting to do that, and I just have no interest in creating a calendar of like, all right, I'm going to record this content here, I'm going to edit it here, I'm going to post it here, and I'm going to post it over here, and I'm going to cross. I just nope. No interest.
So I think this is very interesting because I heard a somewhat similar conversation, and I think we're I think it's getting weaker now, this content follower situation.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of bookers, I'll say, are realizing that, you know, 1 million subscribers does not equal 300 ticket sales. You know? And I think they're getting that. Yeah. I've had a problem with it for a little while, just because it's like, if you got like a YouTube personality and they have all of these followers, and then somebody gets in their ear and they're like, hey, if you go to Levity Live, you can sell out 400 tickets and you'll make this much money. And then they do that. And my problem with it is that they'll do that, and the feature act will actually kill in front of that crowd. And then the YouTube personality will go up and they'll just stink because they're used to editing before they go out live, right? So there's my thoughts on that. But I think this is an interesting thing, because like just listening to, I love Ali Sadiq. Do you know who that is?
No, I know the name, but I haven't seen him.
Okay, so he's a great storyteller and stand-up comic, and he did this. He's done these great specials that he's just put out on YouTube. But I think he had this great point where the nature of that is getting very harmful for the comedy sphere in general, because the club is not doing anything anymore. The club is like booking people based off of their following. That person's selling the tickets. That person is bringing whoever with them, and that person is giving the experience to your crowd, so your market, right? You know, in the age of like your local comedy club, finding actual talent and figuring out how to promote and sell them, and then that person showing up who doesn't have that kind of following, but you know, if they sold 60 tickets and they leave there with 10 new fans, those 10 new fans trust the club to come back for the next person.
Exactly.
And that time, but that also justifies the club getting that door charge, right? Or that portion of the ticket sales or whatever. They're shooting themselves in the foot, because now that person who the club is kind of relying on, because the club isn't developing talent anymore, can just say like, oh, well, like, I don't need to do this at your space. Actually, I can just find a coffee shop with an open floor plan, move everything out of the way, and put chairs in there and take all of the money, you know, and then the coffee shop just thinks it's cool, you know, and then they do the same thing, because like, you know, you can make that kind of venue anywhere, you know, as long as there's space. And then, you know, so it kind of kills the club in that thing. So it's an interesting thing that's happening industry-wise, business model-wise. Yeah. You know, so I do worry about that. But I do think clubs are starting to notice that, because, you know, they're realizing that the following doesn't equal ticket sales. And then they're like, oh, and then also we can't get anybody in here for cheap anymore, because we're only paying big names to come in here, and they're asking for 20 grand for the weekend. You know, like, that's crazy.
Oh my gosh, 20 grand for a weekend.
Isn't that crazy?
I would do stand-up comedy for $20,000. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, a year. A year. Yeah.
Lucky.
Yeah, that would be great. Maybe then I'll break halfway even.
What's the exchange rate on drink tickets? I still got some of those.
Oh, yeah. This little coupon thing? Yeah. Oh, my God. That's so wild. The New York comedy scene, I think, is interesting, because, like, we'll go down there and do shows or whatever, and they just don't pay, and it's just like it sucks that that's like an accepted thing when you're just like, because I mean, getting from Ellenville to New York is not cheap, and it's not easy. Same thing with here, Amtrak station right here, and that ticket's like $55 to get down there. Right. I might be lowballing that, actually, because I take Metro North. But yeah, it's just crazy, It
is insane. I tried a little bit of doing some stuff in New York. I booked a gig at like Broadway Comedy Club, but it was like a bringer, but the producer like pretended it wasn't a bringer and was kind of like dishonest, and then like I wasn't able to bring a lot of people because I wasn't living in New York, and so like they tried to take stage time away from me, and I was like, well, you said this was like a booked show. I was booked on the show, because in Philadelphia there's not really bringer culture. It's really a Manhattan kind of a thing. So I didn't enjoy that very much at all. It's very sort of turn and churn kind of comedy there. They get their big name for the night, and then they just fill it up with comedians who they form these like bands of like 5-6 comedians, and they all come to each other's bringers so they all can get stage time. Right. And that's like that's good thinking on their part, but like I don't think that's the very exciting part of the process. You know, I don't think that doesn't excite me as far as like doing comedy. Well, I got to do all this. I got to make friends with these fucking all these people, and then we got to organize all this stuff to do this show for 4 German tourists. Like, I thought it was just more exciting. Just like you're saying, like you just talk to a coffee shop or you talk to a bar and you go, I want to do a show. You get an amp, you get a mic, you put on a show. You can bring it back down to that level, and I think that's what's going to save the art form, is that you can democratize it. You can take it back.
Yeah, I think it's causing a lot of comics to, I mean, I'm a victim of this, to become producers, and then, you produce a couple things as well, so like forcing the comedians to figure out that aspect of it. I mean, sure, there's going to be a lot of comics that cannot figure it out and, they fizzle out, but like people that really have a knack for it, it creates this, don't tell comedy, right? I mean, Kyle created Don't Tell Comedy with some friends, and now it's this national thing. Right. Yeah. And, now you have comedians that are producers that are in different regions, and, they're doing 100-person shows that are in markets of comedy clubs. And all of those people are going there, because Don't Tell is cool,
Exactly,
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Yeah.
That cool factor, it's like you can't manufacture it.
Yeah. But it's an experience. And, not for nothing, but you don't know who the lineup is. So it's not like it's based off of a name, It's really their name. Like they keep all the power, which is wild to me.
Yeah, and I think that's how you get great audiences, because they're not there just for one particular thing. They're coming with an open mind. They're ready to
That's true.
laugh.
Yeah, and they're like actual comedy fans.
Right.
Yeah. So you still do stuff in Philly twice a month, you said?
Yeah, once or twice a month I'm still booking stuff in Philly.
Cool. Is it like alt shows? Like what are you doing?
This past weekend I did a nude show.
A nude show?
A nude show, yeah.
Cool.
There's this New York City comedian named, I think, Billy Persida, I want to say.
Okay.
Billy Persida, and he hosts like speed dating events in New York. He's a stand-up comic, and he founded a naked show that in New York City that he branched out into Philadelphia, and it pays pretty good.
I would hope so.
In comparison to like your average bar show, or even comparison to like hosting at a club, it pays pretty well. And for me, like nudity is like zero stakes.
Okay.
I understand it's different for women. I think it would be much different for women to do a nude show because people are creeps and disgusting. But nobody gives a shit about me and my naked body. So for me to like go up on stage and be naked, it is truly zero stakes. There is nothing at stake for me. I'm not going to get harassed or discriminated against, or nobody's gonna say you did that naked show, I'm not gonna hire you for this job. It's just like, for me it was just kind of easy money. You get up, you do 10 minutes and they go, oh, you're so brave. Like people do a stand-up comedy, like, you're so brave, you stand up there. It's like, no, I am a coward. I just do it. I just do it. It's there. So yeah, that I guess that's alty. That's a little alternative. I don't think it's as alternative as people make it out to be. I don't think naked comedy is a real departure from the craft of stand-up, because you're not incorporating the nudity into the comedy, really. It's just, and you're not allowed to. In Pennsylvania, if you're naked, you can't move in a sexy way, you can't do sexy things, or else you're breaking the law.
Really?
You can just be nude. But if you're being sexually suggestive or lewd or lascivious, then you're violating the law.
What constitutes a sexy move?
You
know what I mean?
I assume like that if you do a helicopter, I assume that's.
I don't have the equipment to actually do a helicopter. You know the term grower, not shower, right?
Yeah. I think like when a burlesque dancer does like that thing with the tassels, like the boom chicka boom chicka boom chicka.
Yeah.
And I think, for the camera, you can do that because the tassels. If you weren't wearing the tassels, you would not be allowed to shake a titty like that.
Interesting. That's wild. That's so funny. You have to be. I think about my body being naked, and then I'm just like, man, I am not prepared for a crowd to see that. It's like obviously the gut and the love handles, but I have this weird vein in my leg. I'm just like, I don't want people. Nobody sees that.
A really big laugh out of that. The first thing I do when I've done 3 of these naked shows, and I go, hey, look at my giant mole, everybody. And I'm deeply ashamed of my giant mole. hate it. I call it $400 that I don't have. But you get on stage, you go, look at this thing that I'm ashamed of, and everybody goes, because everybody's got that thing too. Everybody's got that thing.
I couldn't do that. You're brave.
But yeah, to answer your question, no, there's not. It's mostly just stand up now. You know, it's kind of like I started doing regular stand up, fell into like, you know, game shows, alternative stuff, and then that kind of faded, and I kind of just returned to that sort of, you know, standard stand up comedy.
Yeah,
that people are still hiring for it. I'm very fortunate in that, you know, for example, like Punchline will still hire me to like host their club, so I still have like an active credit. Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, you're a great stand-up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've enjoyed your stuff.
Yeah. But it's tougher. It's tougher around here. It's different. It's different doing comedy like in the Hudson Valley and Ulster County, upstate New York, than it is doing it like in a city like New York or a city like Philadelphia, where you get on a bike or you get on a subway. There's 2 or 3 mics that you can hit. You know, you can hit like 8 or 9 mics a week if you want to. Yeah. Here it's like you have to have the money for gas. You have to have a car. And then you got to have the time that you're going to like drive 45, 50, maybe more than an hour to do a couple minutes. So it's a different kind of a commitment here than it's elsewhere.
100%. And I think that's why we have to pay up here, you know, because it's just like, it's like, I'm not asking for you to do 10 minutes. I'm asking you to commute, 3 hours round trip if it's an hour and a half trip, like that's a lot of time for somebody. And it is a little tougher up here, and also just like there's less opportunity, I think. I mean, there's one mic a night and it's an hour from me, regardless of the night of the week. It's always an hour.
So what's like kind of like the dream, like doing comedy up here is kind of creating something up here that's like a self-sustaining thing, or breaking out? Like what
for me?
For you, yeah.
I've said this. I would love to make a living off of making things funny, whether it's writing or the podcast or whatever. As long as I can just make a living doing that, I would do comedy for free on the side forever. I don't feel like there's an end on that. I would love for stand-up to be the thing, because I would much rather focus on writing jokes full-time than anything. But unfortunately, like I still manage a bar full-time, and I still do a lot of other bullshit full-time. So stand-up is like this like tertiary thing still, but like I would love to be able to focus on it. So like I guess dream-wise, it would just be like a writing gig, or like even just a something along those lines. I wouldn't mind not being so in the spotlight. Yeah.
I think that's something you find in comedians who also produce, right? Yeah, like it doesn't have to be about like me and my my big face. For example, like I name drop Gillis a lot because it's like otherwise I don't know how to give people sort of the context of like where I'm from and what I've been doing. But if I go, I came up with Shane Gillis, people go, I know who that is, and they kind of can sort of place a timeline and sort of the significance of it. But I think about it a lot because Shane Gillis is who Shane Gillis is now, and I think, it never occurred to me to do comedy in a stadium, to sell out a stadium. That was never on my dream list, and I always felt like I dreamed big, but I never dreamed in that direction. So it's really interesting to me now to be like, what do you really want? Like, what would be a cool thing? Yeah. Because I don't think most people are thinking like, I want to sell out a stadium.
Yeah. I think that would be insane. I also like, I'll say this, like I really love Nate Bargatze. I think Nate's a really funny person. I will notice a quality difference in his stand-up performance when he's doing a special that is taped in an arena versus a smaller venue. Yeah. And I think that is, I really think the beauty in comedy is the intimacy of the crowd, and I think you kind of lose that as the room gets bigger, and I think that can kind of be. I feel like I can feel that on a special sometimes, and maybe most people don't care, or maybe most people don't notice, but I feel like if I ever shot a special, it would be in a club, like 150 people max. Yes. And I would try to keep it that way, but. The Shane Gillis thing, I think you kind of have to say, because I mean you have a very different perspective than everybody in the Hudson Valley, at least.
Right.
You know, I mean, I hear people talk about John Marco Cerezi, who's blowing up.
Oh my God, I love him.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
But you know, I've met like 10 people that are like, I remember when he was just a kid coming to the open mic and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, you get to witness this growth and you get to witness this change. I mean, you know, Shane was a little bit more evolved by the time you met him, but like you're seeing this person become arguably the biggest comic on the planet right now. And you know, that's just a weird thing to watch, you know. So I mean, yeah, you should have a view on it. yeah. I mean, not a lot of people see this person become a 70,000 ticket sales.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is very cool. It is very cool to be part of a scene. I think being a stand-up comedian is a lot about like yourself as an individual and what you can accomplish just solo. But but there's a whole infrastructure around it. You know, you need open mic comedians who are always going to be open mic comedians to run the open mics, or else you don't have an open mic. You know, the superstar of tomorrow can't cut his teeth if there's not a mic, if there's not an opportunity. So you do need this whole community of people who are all striving towards the same thing, just for one or two people to kind of make it out. Yeah. So if you don't appreciate that part of it, you're kind of missing out, I think.
Yeah, I think all things in life can kind of be similar in a way that like everybody is important to have in the scene, just because, I mean, you know, you'll have that person that's really grinding that can like stop and look and be like, all right, well, that person's been coming to this open mic for, you know, 10 years. Like, I don't want to be that guy, you know, and then they know that they have to try something different because they know that repeated behavior is going to yield repeated results. So they have to do that. And then also there's like a lot of like, you know, seeing what not to do. And there's a lot of seeing what they should do. And if the smart people will just pull the smartest of the other smartest people's best practices and create their own, you know? And I think that's really, you know, important for people to witness. So, I mean, everything I think is necessary, you know, it's very interesting. Yeah. Do you have a relationship with him still?
He still follows me on Instagram.
Okay.
I think it's really sweet of him. Thank you, Shane. And sometimes like I'll make like, you know, I'll send him a little DM, like, you know, off of his story. It's just a little, you know, off-shot comment, not even expecting that he's gonna like say anything back, but he does. He really kind of like just says cool. Says something back, so it's nice. He hasn't put me on tires yet. I don't know that I'm right for tires.
I could see you being a character on tires, no problem. Yeah.
All right, well, if you're watching, Shane,
dude, if you're fucking watching,
well, both of us.
No, just one share. That's all you actually have to do is just share a clip, dude. That would be huge. It's amazing how
we should write a spec script for an episode of Tires.
Oh yeah. Do it up, man. Do it up. No, I mean he's done a good job of putting a lot of comedians on that show.
He has. He really looks out for his friends. He definitely does. You know, he's not. He is a very polarizing figure, but I don't think he was like the right polarizing figure, because a lot of people like took him as like. He's like an edgelord. He's you know, he's a conservative. He's, you know, he's like far on the right, and he's not really. He's really dead center in the middle. Like
I feel like he makes fun of Republicans.
He does
a lot,
but he pretends like he might be one of them. You know, one of my favorite jokes from his, I think his first or second special was, he was like, well, I'm not a Republican yet. Yeah. Which is so perfect. It's such a perfect little cape. It's like, well, I'm one of you, but So I think he plays that well. But, you know, the Philadelphia scene really splintered in a big way when he got fired from SNL. And,
interesting.
Yeah, because people took his side, and there was like people were angry because they thought he'd been robbed of like this opportunity, and people thought that that the alternative comics, because the alternative comics were like the woke comics, and then you know, the edgelords were the edgelords. It wasn't that cut and dry before the 2016 election. Yeah, but it became very cut and dry after that, and it was kind of like the edgelords kind of won, because you don't really see the alternative stuff. You know, the woke stuff is kind of like gone. You know, we kind of got rid of woke, and now we're left with the rest of it. But Shane was never that like sort of like he was never a shit stirrer like that. He was like a good dude who would like hear you out. So some of my friends, like, I'm on the outs definitely with some people, because I didn't like take a strong stand in Philadelphia against Shane. I was like, well, Shane's not really the problem. He's not even in Philadelphia anymore. Because meanwhile, I mean, you might know this, and maybe I hope you don't know this, but in a lot of stand-up scenes, there are predators. There are men who abuse the women who come into the scene,
Oh,
or
yeah.
they are abusers to the people in their lives, or they're just cruel, they're violent, and you just deal with them because sometimes those people are very funny. And they're very talented and they're very gifted in comedy. And so they get away with a lot of stuff. Shane Gillis was not one of those people.
Yeah.
So when he left Philadelphia, there were real monsters in Philadelphia. And none of those people really got a spotlight put on them at all, faced any kind of sort of retributive, consequences for their actions or anything. And they kind of got away with it. And then everybody made Shane the scapegoat for like all the ills of stand-up comedy. And I just didn't buy that.
Right. That's so interesting. I don't find him. I mean, I'm a straight white guy, so I don't find him to be that polarizing. Like a lot of what he does doesn't step on what I do. But also I do try to be a little empathic and think about how some people might feel. And I don't know. I feel like he does a good job of making fun of everybody. It's kind of I don't truly remember what he got canceled for on SNL. It was I want to say he did some kind of Asian hate joke or something like that.
Well, it was an accent. It was an accent that kids do when they're imitating Asian people.
Oh, okay.
So it was crass and it was juvenile. I don't know. It's not. I don't feel like it's really for me to be like, oh, it was hate speech or it wasn't. I'm not going to kind of delve into that.
Right.
But yeah, it was him doing him and Matt McCusker on Shane and Matt and Shane's secret podcast, which I think they still do.
Yeah.
And they were doing it in Philly at the time. And they were just talking about Chinatown, doing the real low hanging fruit, the ducks are hanging in the window of Chinatown, and they call noodles neuters, and so they were doing the really dumb accent, and so they just took a clip of that, and that was enough to get him fired, especially because that year when Shane was hired was the same year that Bowen Yang was hired, and he was the first sort of I think Asian cast member on SNL, and so it was just really the optics of it were just not tolerable to Lorne Michaels, I guess.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right. So, two thoughts on that. It's amazing that that's what could get somebody canceled in comedy, because if you attend an open mic at all, you would hear that would not be the most offensive thing you hear. That would not make the top 10. No. So that's wild. But also it's kind of a shame that there wasn't nobody saw that as an opportunity for somebody to be like, hey, I realized what I did was probably not cool and I'm sorry. They didn't take the opportunity to be like, hey, we should learn how to apologize to each other, not just kill each other, Yeah.
I think this has, unfortunately, sadly, one of the great lessons about being in the spotlight is never apologize, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, somebody's making that quite a thing. Just double down.
Yeah. I think, and that's in that culture now. I think even if you're wrong and you're wrong, you just don't, because it's blood in the water. Isn't that a shame?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so this is, this gets me in trouble sometimes, but I'm a Louis C.K. fan. I think he's he's one of my favorite comedians. And after everything that happened, right?
Yeah, Pootie Tang is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah. The atrocity of Pootie Tang. No, but after what happened, a lot of people are I can't believe he's back and all that kind of stuff. And he's put out 3 specials since he's gotten canceled. But he also did I think what won me over for him coming back was he was on Theo Von's podcast, and they talked about sex addiction and how that can kind of change who you are as a person. And he spent a lot of time reflecting on that just on the show. And to me, it felt authentic, and I'm like, damn, that, but I still hear people talk about it and they just don't want to listen. And it's just we do have to get into a place where we understand that people can just be wrong, and then understand that later, and we have to obviously there's a lot of things that are unforgivable, but
sure.
Crazy acts that are, I don't know how to say this well, but I do believe people should be able to apologize if they mean it.
Yeah.
and then we should move forward from there.
Yes, I think in like an ideal world, that would be nice. If everybody would just like, this person apologized and they recognized the harm that they did, and we are all going to move on. But we don't live in that kind of culture. That's kind of thing like what people just will always come back to this sort of original sin, whether you apologize or not. And that's why it's kind of like not worth it in a lot of cases, which I don't think is right. But yeah, I don't know. Louis C.K. I used to love Louis C.K. I loved his specials. I loved his show on FX. And then I kind of went along with like, not we even went along. I chose to be like, no, I'm not going to engage with this stuff anymore. Right. And it was like, for me, it was that he and his representation took steps to like hinder the careers of the women that he victimized, essentially. It wasn't even so much the act of what he did in those spaces, was that after the fact that he acted in retribution against them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and hurt their careers. And I think that was like a bridge too far. You didn't have to do that. You already kind of put them in a shitty situation where they had to like decide whether to talk about this or not talk. When somebody does something fucked up to you, right? It's not even there's so much aftermath, right? And there's so much that you have to deal with as a person who's been attacked or who's been victimized in some way, because you have to like it's almost a harder road for you because people are judging what you do after you've been hurt. They say, well, if this really hurts you, then why did you do X, Y, Z? Or they're minimizing it, or they want details, or that you. And then a lot of times you don't want to talk. So I think it's extremely complicated to be in that situation where you're like the whistleblower, or you're, and you can get and then bad things can happen to you after the fact. So I really empathize more with them because I'm coming at it from the angle of being a working comedian and not being a big name. And like me, if a bigger name decided that they wanted to like bury us in some kind of way, like they could do that. You know what I mean? And that's I think that's a little scary. So I
that is true. I didn't know that part. That is something I'll have to digest.
But it's a worthy conversation. You're right. It should not be this thing of like somebody commits like a sin in the eyes of the public, and it's like we shun them forever. Yeah. But it's also like, do we return them to sort of this like exalted, throne? There's got to be like a middle ground. Yeah. But we don't have a lot of that now.
No, we don't. And also, like, I'll say this about a different comedian that I'm a huge fan of. As far as I know, and maybe you know more on this than I do. Ellen was just an asshole, and it feels like Ellen got more canceled than Louis did, It's
kind of funny.
Yeah. But I mean, I thought Ellen was like one of the best comics of her generation.
She's very, very funny. I think for her it was the hypocrisy. I think people really were
correct. Yeah.
Why did you talk about kindness? Like, why were you saying all that stuff that you didn't? That nobody made you say. Nobody made you build your brand around this. Nobody had a gun to your head making you represent yourself this way. I think if she had just been like a bitch from the beginning. Lots of people make it in comedy and in entertainment, and they're a bitch the whole time. Joan Rivers was a bitch the whole time. She didn't have to pretend like she was like, you never saw Joan Rivers being like, be kind, give a kitten a hug. It was never a thing, and she still was a superstar. So she didn't need to do that, and she went ahead and did it. I think that is what ultimately made people really turn their backs on it because they felt lied to.
There's a bit in there, I think. Yeah. You didn't have to dance, Ellen. you made us fall in love with you because of your dancing.
Yeah, you didn't have to dance.
Yeah. An asshole would have marched, and that's how we would have known. That's crazy.
Maybe something you can play. Have you thought about dancing? Incorporating some dancing into your stand-up?
I do this from time to time. My dance move famously is a big fish, little fish cardboard box. Big fish, little fish cardboard, and a British guy showed me once, and I'm just like, that's perfect. I'm gonna make that my whole dance personality.
I think you should.
Yeah, that's all I got, dude. What's it called there? So where are you at now? Like, what's because we'll wrap this up shortly. Okay. But like, what's your like comedy life like now? Like, what are you doing?
I'm more or less in like a total limbo.
Okay.
Where like I was on this track in comedy, and I was trying to find a break. The IFC thing, the good comedy thing, the food themed rap battle game show, and then I got scouted by HBO around 2020, and I got put on a showcase with Ralph Barbosa.
Okay. Love Ralph Barbosa?
Oh my god, I adore him.
Yeah.
And he's so hot. Okay. And he blew all of us out of the water. He blew I can't even like really be mad at it because he just came along, and again he was just sort of this generational voice. So at that point HBO was like,
Yeah.
So Ralph got this special. And then I just, came back to Philly and just started working on more material and working, hosting at Punchline and things like that. And then my dad died.
Okay.
And then I got laid off from my day job.
Okay.
And then my sister had kids.
Okay.
So it's like all this like life stuff happened, and I ended up moving back home to be there for my niece and my nephew, because I don't think I'm going to have kids.
Okay.
And I fell in love with my niece and my nephew, and I don't think I'm going to have another chance to watch babies grow. I think this is it. So I am going to be here watching babies grow, sorting out my dad's estate, which is in South America. My dad died in a foreign country.
Wow.
So there's just so much life stuff to like address. And then like what we've been talking about, doing comedy here is just different. For example, I don't have a car and I don't want a car. I liked riding my bike around Philly. I like getting on the subway. I like buses. I like all that stuff. I don't really want to. Again, it's about like maybe there are things that I could do as an individual to sort of heighten my profile or make it or make it bigger here, but I choose not to, because I say I don't want to do all this driving around. So I have to just kind of take what I can get or what I can accomplish, and I've been lucky enough that there's a museum in my hometown called the Borscht Belt Museum. And they're sort of a museum about nostalgia, about the resort hotel boom of the 20th century, which included a comedy boom. There's a lot of modern stand-up was, sort of workshopped, or like that upstate New York was like a breeding ground for stand-up. You had the Brooks, Mel Brooks, Albert Brooks, Joan Rivers, Shecky Green, all the Borscht Belt, classic figures. Doing comedy up there. And so the part of the museum's programming is live comedy. So I get to program live comedy in my hometown within walking distance.
That's cool.
So just getting to do that is nice, because part of my identity is being a comedian. I've been doing this for 16 years. This is the longest I've stuck with anything. So not doing comedy or not being a comedian it makes me feel like lost in the world. I have to be connected to it in some kind of way. So for now, that's how I can do it. And then getting to do this podcast, which is really special.
Thanks.
It makes me feel like a comedian again.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, choosing to take maybe like a step back from so much comedy exposure, in the name of like family and life events, like that's a scary feeling to deal with.
Yeah.
But I mean, life happens. So,
it does.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be prepared for that to happen at some point.
And the cool thing is that and I'm not quitting. I don't think I'm done. I think
I didn't think you were quitting.
Yeah, I'm going to live forever and whatever. I'm going to be young forever. But so the thing about being really focused about stand-up comedy and really wanting to make it, is that if you make your whole life stand-up comedy, then your whole life is stand-up comedy. What the fuck do you talk about when you're on stage? I had nothing to talk about except for comedy and comedians and open mics, because that was my whole life. But now it's like, all right, well, now I've lost a parent. One of my other parents is getting older. My sister is raising kids.
Yeah.
I'm looking for like random work that I can do again without buying a car. I spent some time cutting trees. Now I'm a bartender at a local Italian place in my hometown. So all this life shit, like you said, it's all funny in some way. There's just material all over it. So I'm making a lot of notes. I'm writing a lot of stuff down, because whatever comes next for me, I am grateful that I can pull on like a greater pool of life experiences and things, other than just being like, all right, my whole life is a comedian and all I can talk about is that.
Yeah, I mean, some of the most disappointing comedy shows I see are when I go to see a headliner that I'm a huge fan of, and they start talking about the airport.
Yeah, because that's their life now.
That's their life, and I'm like, God damn it! Like they got him. They got Soder. They got Soder. No, he does still a good job. His feature, Brandon Sagalow. I don't know if you know Brandon Sagalow, but yeah, he did like 15 minutes out of 20 on an airport situation. I'm like, we're in Albany, New York. We ain't flying anywhere. No. We're not going anywhere, buddy. That's crazy. Cool. Well, I mean, it sounds like you're in a good place as far as like the comment. I think one of the better things that happened from my father was sick this past year, and before that, my mom was not really well, and they're fine now. But sitting in the hospital, a coping mechanism was just like writing about funny things. And then, you know, when they were recovering individually, spending a lot of time at home, writing about like family dynamics and stuff like that, I feel like really helped me as a comic. Also therapeutically helped me a lot. But yeah, I mean, my comedy a lot is a lot of family. My dad is being made fun of constantly. So you know, my whole set is essentially picking on dad now.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just one of those interesting things, I think, you know, like you kind of need life to happen.
Yeah. And it's so rewarding when you do that on stage and people get it. You know,
Yeah.
you go, you feel connected. You feel like, all right, well, you know, the art that I've made based on what I've been through, you know, maybe some painful experiences, maybe things that were like unpleasant when they happen. And now you're talking about it on stage and everybody's like dying laughing. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah. You guys felt this way too. Yeah. That's amazing. Cool. So, I mean, you just had the Borscht Belt. That's what, every year in July?
In July, yeah.
Borscht Belt Comedy Festival. All right, so pay attention to the next next July. Can they find you on Instagram? Or?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Alejandro L Great, like Alexander the Great, but Alejandro L Great.
Hell yeah. Yeah, you know, you're seriously one of my favorite comedians. So thank you for coming on. I think a mark of a really good comic is, and I pray to God that this is your joke, because I've been saying it's your joke. So you come up when I talk about comedians I enjoy, and you know, I mention you, and I pray to God it's your joke. As I'm about to say, we'll cut this out if it's not. You talk about needing glasses to go down on somebody.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm middle-aged and I'm gay. I need reading glasses to do oral sex.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's one of my favorite newer jokes.
That is like a prime example of like, this is who I am, this is what I do, and something funny, you know?
Exactly. And you know what? That's exactly what we've been talking about, because like my eyesight has always been bad.
Yeah.
Always. All my life. I've been wearing glasses since I was like 7 or 8. But only in the past like 2 years has my like eyesight gotten worse again. Like now I can't like read things up closer. And that's horrifying, right? You're losing like one of your senses and you're so scared. Right. And then you write this joke and it's like, you know, you just feel kind of like, fine, whatever.
Dude. And it's like 30 seconds tops. What a great fucking joke, dude. You should be very proud of that. All right. Likeable is recorded with Radio Free Rhinecliff. Thank you to our producers, Matt Rosenberg and Jen Hammoud. Thank you to Epicurean, was hostess for each and every episode. Come in, stop and shop, and maybe you'll catch us on the air. The coffee is fantastic, as Alejandro was promoting. Likeable is a comedy-based podcast for experts in absolutely nothing and should not be taken seriously at all. Okay? Please take this as your daily dose of questionable wisdom and with a grasp of skepticism, I guess. Please check out Alejandro on all platforms. But yeah,
thank you for having me.
Yeah, dude. Thank you for coming on. You've been really great.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Carl, take us out of here.